Hello everybody, Math 9 Quarter 1, Week 2 lesson plans. Let's go into our page 1 here, Math 9 Quarter 1, PowerPoint edition, or Week 2 lesson plans, or your video edition here of your lesson plans for Week 2. Students, name date here. Let's go into week 2 of quarter 1 math 9, and we start out here week 2 math 9 quarter 1, and our lessons are here. Here they are. So we got 1.4 right equations, inequalities, classwork homework part 1, and then 1.4 right equation inequalities, classwork homework part 2. Then 1.5, use problem-solving plans. So plan to solve problems. Classwork homework part 1. 1.5, use problem-solving plan. Classwork homework part 2. 1.6, use precision and measurement. Classwork homework part 1. 1.6, use precision and measurement. Classwork homework part 2. And then these are your quizzes and tests here. 1.3, we have a quiz at 1.3, write expressions. And we got a quiz here at 1.5, a quiz about use problem-solving plan. And then our standards. So we have M.Q.3 lesson plan, which is choosing appropriate accuracy for measurements. And then we go into Common Core 12, 9 through 12, A.CED.1, create. So that's that comes in down further down. I'll read that standard. Our intro is create equations and inequalities in one variable and use them to solve problems, include equations arising from linear and quadratic functions and simple rational and exponential functions. Our learning targets are translate real-world scenarios into one variable equations or inequalities. Define variables clearly with let blank represent blank. Usually it's let f of x equal y or represent y. Or we have a variable x which represents some variable in the problem. Solve linear, quadratic, simple, rational, and exponential equations in context. Interpret and justify solutions in terms of the original problem. So we learn how to do that. Here we are in Algebra 1 and Math 9. And then here is our Common Core 9 through 12, A.CED.1, create equations and inequalities in one variable, and then use them to solve problems. So that's our overbearing Common Core standard there. Animated resource materials or animated PowerPoints, MP4 versions of lessons, classwork, homework, quiz, tests, worksheets, activities and tasks. All class worksheets are closed. Exercise from PowerPoints or MP4s. Homework, quizzes, and test assignments available online, with corrections provided after submission dates. Access for all. Available in over 100 languages. Available online 24/7. Closed caption for hearing impaired. Audio for sight impaired. And then our classwork points are 156. Note-taking points are 76 points. Homework points are 356 points. Quiz is 54 points. Test, there's no test points. So the total for week 2 is 642 points for Math 9 Quarter 1, week 2. Continuing on here with our modifications and accommodations available online via Google Classroom interface. That is Grades, classwork, homework, quizzes, tests, Zoom tutoring on request. So you get accommodated that way. And we start out here with 1.4, write equations and inequalities, part 1, classwork, 34 points, classwork, 29 points of note-taking. And then part 1, homework here, 88 points. For 1.4 part 1 homework, you got 88 points of homework. And then 1.4 part 2 classwork, 26 points of classwork, 10 points of note-taking for 1.4, write equations and inequalities. And then 1.4 part 2 homework, 72 points for your 1.4 part 2 homework, 72 points. And your Common Core standard for 1.4 is Common Core 9 through 12, 8.8 CED.1, create equations and inequalities in one variable and then use them to solve problems. That's for 1.4. Then we go off into 1.5, and it's the same standard up here. So we got classwork, 26 points, 6 points of note-taking for part 1, 1.5. Use a problem-solving plan. And then 1.5 part 1 homework, you got 40 points of homework for 1.5. Use a problem-solving plan. Let me go continuing on here in week 2. We jump now to 1.5. Use a problem-solving plan 1.5. And I believe it is the same standard. Part 2, our classwork's 22 points, 17 points of note-taking. Our homework is 60 points for 1.5. Part 2 homework is 60 points. And then we go to a quiz. And this is going back to even week 1. Write expressions 1.3, or quiz here. It's got 31 points here on your first quiz and in week 2. And again, we go into SSE here, which is 1.3. We have Common Core 9 through 12, A.SSE.1, interpret expressions that represent a quantity in terms of its context. And continuing down here to 1.6, part 1 classwork, use precision and measurement. So we got 24 points of classwork, 5 points of note-taking for 1.6. And then 1.6 part 1 homework, we got 34 points of homework for 1.6. And 1.6 part 2 classwork, 24 points. 9 points of note-taking for 1.6. And our standard for 1.6 is Common Core 9 through 12, A.CED.1, create equations and inequalities in one variable and use them to solve problems. And then finishing out here for week 2, continuing on here, 1.6 homework, 62 points here of homework for 1.6 part 2, use precision and measurement. And then here's our quiz number 2 for week 2, and their quiz is 23 points here, and we cover everything that we covered up so far in Algebra 1 here. But our major concern here is N.Q.3 lesson plan, choosing appropriate accuracy for measurements, which includes understand accuracy, precision, and significant figures. Determine the correct number of significant digits based on measurement tool limitations. And then apply rounding rules to report measurements with appropriate accuracy. And finally, justify chosen levels of accuracy in real-world scenarios. And animate PowerPoint math video at AOL.com for questions, course materials. Thank you very much.